Nobody Asked Us with Des and Kara, presented by TCS. We are only, how many days are we out from the Olympic trials right now?
4 to 5, I think.
We're 5 days out. Yes, 5 days out from the Olympic trials. We already let you guys in on our bonus recap
So much.
episode. So fun. And we appreciate all the love for it, right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like we both had a moment where we're like, should we actually hit publish on this? I was like, I think I was
A
really
moment.
that dude.
We were both a little bit nervous about it.
So the reception's been good. I don't know that I would go any edgier than that.
No, I think that was the right amount of edge.
Yeah.
What was funny, will tell everyone, is that you and I were texting like, I don't know if we should publish that. It wasn't very professional. Like, let's have Chris listen to it and like get his honest feedback. And all of a sudden he texted both of us and was like, the pod's up and YouTube is live.
Then we're like, oh, okay, well.
We were like, never mind. We're going with it.
Yeah.
So that was funny.
The reception was great. I thought a lot of people liked it. There was one comment that the audio was a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
You know, you got to pick your battles. If you want us to record at a bar with beverages, you got to take a little fuzzy audio. Our brains are a little fuzzy, so you know what?
Yeah, everything was a little fuzzy. And in fact, it seems to be the most embraced episode we've ever made. So I think we're good.
Yeah.
How was the drive back to Michigan? How long did it take?
We split it up into 2 days, which is I think that was a big step for Ryan Linden. He was like, I just put my foot in the gas. We're going 1 day. You can sleep. And I'm like, okay, fine. But we left Orlando around 1 in the afternoon. And around, I think, 8 o'clock in the evening, I was cracking a coffee. And he was like, I think we should stop because it's just going to be like 6 a.m. when we get home. And I was like, oh, thank you. He's like, so don't drink the coffee. So we stopped in Chattanooga, which was a really cool little town. And I was like, what could have been?
Oh, yeah. What was the temperature like in Chattanooga?
Just perfect. It was nice and hilly there.
What? The odds that you stopped in Chattanooga?
Right?
I'm sorry, what?
It's like, we need to see what the weather is in Chattanooga. So we put a little out of the way.
That's amazing.
But it was perfect. The problem, here's the thing, Kara. The weather was great, but it would have been too hilly. And someone would have been like, I don't like it. It's too hilly. This is hard. This isn't what the Olympics are like. So there's always something. There's always going to be something. And we talked about it a little bit in the last pod, but I think it's worth mentioning. I thought Orlando did a great job and it was safe. Like, was it a little warmer? Sure. Did we expect that to a degree? Sure. Were people unsafe? My opinion, no. And I'm sure someone will chime in and say I had this experience and it was crazy. I haven't heard that yet, but the water stops were fantastic. They had misters, they had plenty of water, hydration, sponges. There was like, everyone was like, oh, didn't we learn from LA? Yeah. And like they did. They delivered, in my opinion. So hats off.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll get into that a little bit more in a second, but everyone wants to know, have you run since then? How does the body feel?
Does
not sound good.
So today will be, that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. What's today? Wednesday. Say Thursday?
Today's Thursday.
Where am I? So it's Thursday and I'm in Michigan. My name is Desiree Linden. So I took 5 days. I might go run today still, just get like a little shakeout in. But I actually feel pretty good. Like I've been running around with the pup and things like that. I think the heart, like sitting in the car after the race was probably not the best.
Yeah, that's tough.
So I'm glad we broke it up. And I think I almost feel like that was tougher on me than the race. So shakeout today and onward. How about you? What did you do after the race? I know I don't want to get too far ahead of this either, but you were supposed to call, or you were asked to call New Balance indoor games. Were you sitting there Saturday night thinking, I should have done it. I should have gone.
No.
I hate these people.
No. No. Listen, all love for the team at NBC and that meet, which was an awesome meet. But when my boss asked me if I'd get on a plane and fly up there, I was like, I really don't want to. Like, these are my people. What's kind of funny is I just wanted to hang out with you, but I hadn't like even officially asked you if you wanted to hang out yet. But I was like, I really want to stay and see my friends. And my boss was awesome about it. So I never even thought about it again until I got home on Sunday and the track meet was on.
Yeah, I could have been there.
Yeah, but even then I wasn't sad. I had no FOMO. I was like, they're crushing it. They didn't need me. It was an awesome meeting. Like I said, we'll talk about it later, but I no regrets whatsoever. I was happy I stayed, super happy I stayed.
Would you hang out with me again? Or was that too
Yes.
much? Or was that too aggressive? I feel
No, it
like
was actually one.
boom, I was good. I was in a sweet spot. I was
I
good.
loved it. And I'm excited because I don't we'll give more details later, but we can say that we're gonna hang out again after Boston.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited. I think that has to be my new norm. If I'm going to do an event where you're racing and you're going to stay, I'm staying.
Let's have an
I'm
after
just your
party.
groupie now.
That's a no. That's we're just gonna have an after party. I will say that event. Well, it wasn't even an event. It was just like, hey, this is a we scouted some places that were dog friendly, so that because Rivers and Boston were there, and it was just like it was slim pickings, but it was like this is the spot, and then it was kind of interesting how people kept showing up. Like I don't know,
Yeah,
like
I think
I heard that you guys were here, and then they would just show up, and it was sort of like it's cool.
and
Like
we were outside. Like we weren't in the bar.
right. We just sort of sat there and then people that we knew kind of would like roll by and be like, "Oh, hey, how'd you even know
Yeah. I
you were?"
think we're allowed to talk about it cuz she talked about it, but Dakotah Lindworm came
Yeah.
and we both lost our fucking minds.
I kind of think I owe her
Like
an apology.
well, she said on a couple podcasts that she had so much fun and that she was excited that we were excited. So I think, that night we went from being big sisterish to being like inappropriate big sisterish.
It was sort of
And
like
I was like, oh man, did we scare her off?
it kind of switched at one point and I was like, "Yeah, she's not getting married." I mean, yeah. It was like it did kind of switch. But I blame that completely on the vending machine. You got to work with what you got.
100%. Oh, people asked us where we got those games. And so you should know that we actually got more than what we put on the podcast. There was just a random vending machine. And I will say that I'm just going to say it. Okay. Judge how you want to judge. We are just a couple of gals having fun. We did go back in and buy, I kid you not, a bag of dicks. And we also bought a bag of pink boobies. And poor Dakotah came in after those things had been purchased. So anyway, I was happy to hear her talk about it in a positive way. Like
Yeah.
I think she still likes us, is what I'm saying. I feel like we can say that we saw Dakotah and I don't think she hates us because she mentioned it as like a positive.
There was a moment where she was like, "That's my dad." And I was like, "Oh shit, like I'm sorry. We should take this all back, pretend it didn't happen."
I'm
um,
dying.
is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, whatever. She's in the Olympian Club.
Yeah, I'll
She's
say
in deep now.
she was awesome. She was super fun
She was so
to hang
awesome.
out with, and if an apology is warranted, I'm so sorry. But I hope that Dakota
So
had
am I.
much fun.
I don't think she cared. I think she was laughing with us, but I am sorry. But I mean, like, we were legitimately, when she came out through that door, we both lost our shit. It was
Well,
amazing. We
we
got
had
so
this in the
excited.
pod where we just like completely fangirled. We are super happy for her, so proud. And then she walked in, and it was like, how did that happen? We
Yeah, right. We were like, we
our
just
party.
talked about you. She's
There-
like, oh, cool. I'll listen. Weirdos.
exactly. Anywho, it was fun. I had a
Yeah,
good
so
time. I hope you
it
had.
was really good.
I
I
hope
had
we
a great time.
have more of that in the
So I
future.
have to tell you that just if my dystonia holds up, I'm going to run the 5K at the Boston Marathon.
Nice.
I really don't like running on roads. It really affects me. As you saw, I ran the 8 mile loop when I was there, and then it totally messed up my leg for a few days. But I feel like I could do a 5K, but I'm really bummed today. I have to tell you why. So Colt ran the 5K at the Chicago Marathon, and I thought he ran 19:30, and I know he can run way faster than that, but as of right now, that's his PR. And so I was like, you know what? I think I could do that. I think with a couple workouts and like taking myself a little bit seriously, I could do that. And we were driving him to school today, and he was like, "But mom, that's not what I ran." I'm like, "What? He ran 18:57." And I go, "No, you didn't. No, you didn't." He pulled up the results. Sure enough,
No, you
he ran
didn't.
18:57. And he goes, "And I could have run faster, but you made me run with you for the first 5 minutes," which is true. And he's like, "It said 19:30 when I crossed the finish line, but it was chip time," which is something like I have never experienced that. Like your chip time is different than the finishing time. So now I'm a little bit like, I'm not sure. I'm feeling a little bit like, dang, I don't know that I could run 18:57. It's 6:06 pace.
You can
I
do.
know you think that that's like so easy, but
No,
anyway,
I think you can
I'm
do.
saying it out loud so everyone will hold me accountable. My A goal is 18:57. My B goal is 19:30.
A
There we
goal,
go.
crush your son. Um, love that.
Yes.
No, that's great. It's good to have goals. And
Yeah.
I, what? So will he make the trip out? Like, will you guys be head to head racing, or is this you versus the clock slash Colt's clock?
If we race head to head, it's over. And
Yeah,
I know that. So I'm kind of hoping he doesn't come. But I don't know. We did talk about it as a family, the boys coming to Boston. So I I really want him to come, but I don't want him to run because then I know he'll beat me. Because I
I
know he can run faster than
have
that.
him cheer for
Like I
you.
know he can.
Sit this one out, son. I need a supporter.
Yeah, like he ran like his last cross country race was only 4K, but it's in mud and hills and he ran 5:40 pace, I think. So I know he could run faster than that. But right now,
Yeah, on
that
the
is his
official
PR.
board. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
this is news that we haven't really talked about on the pod, but we talked to people about. Welcome to the Brooks team. Yeah.
oh yeah, thank you.
What
Yay.
shoe will you race in?
Oh my God, I don't know. You have to tell me. I don't. So this is the funny thing is I fell in love with Brooks as just a brand. And all of my conversations, as you know, with Garrett and Melody were like about like where I would fit in with the brand, like the things that I'm passionate about, which is like elevating elite athlete voices, youth running. Like, is there a place for me there where I can be a part of that stuff? And and we never talked about footwear, not once. So it's kind of funny now because I'm like on Team Brooks. I have Ghosts. I have a pair of the Ghosts. I have a pair of Glycerin, and I have a pair of I want to say Hyperion Elite. Is that what it is? Hyperion Max, maybe Max.
Max's Elite just came out.
No plate.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so Max. Okay. So those are the three I've been going through. I love all of them so far, but I want to try like different shoes. I'm used to like more supportive shoes, so I want to try a bunch of different things, but I honestly have no idea what their racing shoe is like. I kind of want to wear the Elite, that plated shoe, but I don't know if that's fair because Colt just wore like a crappy shoe, like a regular crappy shoe that wasn't even a racing flat. So I don't know if that's really fair. And I still haven't put them on my feet. I don't know what they feel like. So I don't know. You're going to have to tell me what the best racing shoes are.
yeah, that's a toughie. I think the Max is great, but I think you have to try the plated shoe just because you just need to see what the experience is like. And then if we want to go into fairness, that's a whole different story. But I think the Max is a really great shoe, and you can feel
Is
like.
that what you raced in before the Elite? Like before there was a carbon plated shoe, what shoe did you wear?
So the whole like Hyperion line now is like pretty new. It was like the original Hyperion, which is not even a thing anymore. I guess the closest
Okay.
thing to that would be this is so confusing. It would be that what formerly was the Tempo, Hyperion Tempo, but is now that is just the Hyperion. And then there's Max and
Okay.
there's Elite. So and then there's a
Okay.
GTS, and then there's, we could go on and on. But anything in the Hyperion line will be great, I think.
Okay, but what does GTS mean?
Go to shoe.
Oh, okay.
I did a
I
shimmy.
mean, seriously, I'm gonna have to pick your brain later because I mean, I can ask Garrett too, but I'm trying to hold myself to 45 miles a week from now until then, which is it's embarrassing telling you this. But I feel like that's a mileage that I can do, or I can do some workouts where I won't overtax my nervous system and limp like Ryan noticed I was limping that night. That's what happens when I overtax my nervous system is then I limp and then I tend to fall. And so I feel like at 45 miles a week, I can get 2 workouts in. I can get like a 9-mile run in or whatever. But then all the other days are really short and sweet. And so it's like, it's enough to protect my nervous system, but still gain a tiny bit of fitness. So this is like so pathetic, but that's my goal. So there
I
you go.
That's the reality of life. It's not pathetic at all. I think that, like you have to adapt to the situation, and if it's important to you, you figure out how to make it work, and for a lot of people it's not important and they're like, let me just do something else.
Yeah. No, I don't really want to do anything else.
I'm
I want to crush my son's will and run sub 1857.
I'm too short to stop running. Like, I'll just be a square, lone square. So I gotta.
No way. That wouldn't happen. All right. Well, let's move on to some topics that we kind of texted each other about. So now that we are 5 days removed from the Olympic trials,
Mhm.
do you have any more thoughts? Like we were like really fresh that night, mostly focusing on who made the team and what happened up front in the race. Do you have any more thoughts now, looking back?
Um. Yeah. I mean, I think like looking closer at strategies. And actually, I haven't watched the races back, but like kind of getting more of a grid for what happened. I will say a lot of people mentioned that Clayton Young did let Connor Mance win, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
Even
said,
Connor put it on his Strava. I
yeah,
checked it
that's
out.
too much. So
Yeah.
that was interesting. And then kind of hearing Connor's like headspace towards the end of that race, like I was just trying to stay upright. Um, knowing those things and then kind of looking back at Zach's strategy, like hindsight 2020, of course, but like at what point, if you're Zach and you are feeling out the race, like, yes, there's the game plan, but also there's like the ability to adapt to the situation. Like, okay, I'm feeling a little rocky. I don't know if I can get to the finish line, but like judging my competitors, and can I back off and finish top two? Because he didn't need the
Mm-hmm.
time. Like he could have maybe
Mm.
beat Mance, right? Like if Mance was so on the edge, had he just conserved a little bit and sat, like could he have outkicked him? So I thought that was interesting, just thinking about that in hindsight. Like, would they do the exact same strategy and just be like, you just got to run the pants off of everybody and be the best man out there? Or like, you got it down to three now, hit reset and try to, win or place.
I totally am with you. I have thought about this so much. It's actually unhealthy. I've been thinking like if he was my athlete, am I going to bet? And I know that he was in great shape. He was like crushing workouts. So he and his coaches made a decision based on his training and I wasn't privy to that. But I'm just saying if I'm his coach, and this is like not a knock, right? Like this is like just like you said, hindsight's 2020. Am I saying, okay, what the likelihood that you're going to run a big PR in this heat without any help, no one to look to, you're going to do every single step by yourself versus the likelihood that that third spot is going to be unlocked in May? What has a greater chance of happening? And I think it's easy to say now because we saw the race play out, but it feels like maybe that would have been a better gamble to see if that third spot unlocked and then do what you said. He clearly was able to break open the field. I mean, they were so far ahead and
Mhm.
then settle. And then maybe it still is Clayton and Connor, but maybe he does get second or maybe he wins or maybe he ends up third, but then in May that spot opens up. So I don't know. I mean, like I think he wanted to take destiny into his own hands and I thought it was really impressive that he went for it. But it has definitely been eating at me because I'm just like, man, Career ran a really smart race. He knew it was too hot. He didn't go with it and he came through and got third and he got that job done. But it's been eating at me a little bit that I feel like, God, Zach Panning should have been in the top 3. And I wish he would have run that race a little bit differently. And I'm sure like, I feel bad even talking about it because
Right.
he has to
He's
live
doing
with
the same
the
thing,
race,
but yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what the goal was. Like, you know what I mean? Okay, make the Olympic team. But like how big did they make that for him? Like, okay, to make the Olympic team, you have to run the time and you have to, place in the top 3. Okay, so which one's the most important? Like, what was the priority list? Like, to make the Olympic team,
Right.
you have to run the time, or to make the Olympic team, you have to finish top 3, obviously, or like, you know what I mean? Like, what was it? Because I think that when you try to get too much done, like, I have to win the
Mhm.
race, run 2:08:10, like that all of a sudden becomes just such a bigger task than like, I just need to finish top 3. And in
Right.
this scenario for the men, it's like, I just need to finish top 2. That's how you make the Olympic team.
Mhm.
And so then you can take the time off the table. Like, all you got to do is finish top 2. But I think there was so many scenarios where it was like third, I don't know. And it's like, I think everyone plugged him into third place. Like, Zach's running for third, so he has to have the time. And it's like, he didn't have to run for third. There's scenarios where
Right.
he
Right.
could have won the race, and maybe that was not going until, mile 14 and having the best second, just under second half, which again, he
It's
broke
funny
that.
you say that because yeah, he broke it open. It's funny you say that because that's what I told Adam. I'm like, in hindsight, which again, I'm armchair quarterbacking it or whatever they call it. Um,
Look
I
at
wish he
you.
would have gone at 13.
Yeah.
I know nothing about other sports. Wow, I don't even know where that came from. But I told Adam, like, I wish he would have gone at 13 because he was so strong and he was so determined and he took it with authority and everyone knew it was real. And I'm like, man, I wish he would have waited instead of going at 5.5. I wish he would have gone at 13 because I think he would have held that all the way through. And it definitely would have broken down to the same 3 people. And just what you're saying, maybe he would have ended up third, but maybe he would have been second. Um,
Maybe he
and
wins.
I heard, but maybe he wins. Yeah, and I heard Connor Mance saying like he was super happy when he took the lead. I'm just going to sit back here, and so I don't know. It's easy to like nitpick it now, but I thought about that race like more than it should be running around in my brain. You know what I mean? Like I don't know anyone involved. I'm not like personally friends with anyone involved, but it's bothered me just how it ended up for him.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that we're going to see and that we typically see is a little like Brian Sell, is he's gonna, like, he gains so much from that, and he's not incredibly experienced, and it was his first trials, and it was the first time, in my opinion, he's like tried to dictate a race. Like, yes, he went to the
True.
World Championships and ran really well and finished high and like did his own race, but there's a difference between running people down and being the guy dictating the
Mhm.
race and trying to break the field. So that's just one more
Totally.
experience for his quiver, and I think, he's going to have another tool, and then the motivation that comes with that is just going to be insane. So I think he broke out onto the scene. A lot of people know Zach Panning now, gained respect for him or whatever, whatever. But I think that we're going to see a lot from him in the next couple of years for sure. So that's exciting.
I have to go back to something you said at the beginning, which was that now we know that Clayton let Connor win and that Connor has said he was hurting and he was just, I have to get to the finish line. And I haven't watched any of the footage, but I remember from watching it that Clayton was really taking it in that entire straightaway. He was running over to the side. He was like celebrating. He was like, if you ever want to see what it looks like for an athlete that's like truly soaking in the moment that their life changes, go back and watch it, right? Like he is just feeling every moment. He's smiling. I mean, from 600 to go, right? And it's funny to me now knowing that Connor was hurting. I wonder if he was just like, dude, what are you doing? Because like Connor was like dancing around Clayton the whole time. And Clayton was just like, get me to the finish line. So anyway, it's kind of funny to think, what was Connor thinking? Was he annoyed with Clayton? But
That's,
Clayton, man, talk
yeah,
about someone just taking it in.
that's such a funny, like, what would you do if someone let you win like that? Would you be like,
I have to say, no, I'd be like, no.
yeah, like, let's freaking go,
I
dude.
mean,
What are you doing?
right. And I think that Connor Mance has that mentality. Like he's a gamer and he
Yeah.
likes to win. But I think that actually does show you the like headspace he was at. I
Yeah.
mean, really, like he said on his Strava, like he let me win. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing, bro? racing.
Yeah. But I think he like couldn't even think about like he's stepping back to let me win right now. So yeah, I mean that'll go down as just I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again.
I,
Right?
I agree. I mean, that was a first, probably a last.
Yeah. We'll talk about it. Okay, so anything else that surprised you or that you've been thinking about since then? Like for me, I've also been thinking about that it like when I've been talking to other runners and I'm not naming any one person here, but multiple athletes, it seems like a lot of people did not take the heat training as seriously as they should have.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like I think a lot of people thought I'm super fit, I'll get in the sauna a couple days a week. And like you said, it was a manageable day, but it was a manageable day if you did your heat training. I mean, like Clayton Young could have run another 4 miles, and he talked about how he crushed that heat preparation, And they run up in Provo, I think, so where it's snowy and it's cold, and they were ready for that heat, absolutely. So it was possible to be ready no matter where you're living. But just like in like looking back and like reading what happened to some of the athletes and stuff, I'm like, and mostly honestly, if I'm going to be totally honest, I kind of blame their coaches a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's part of the preparation. You should have made sure that they were doing all of these things. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think you're right. I think that a lot of people and whatever life circumstances are, they are like I live in the mountains. I have to stay here. I have a family or whatever it is. Um, but you can do the extra things, right? Like wear the extra layers, do the sauna, um, if it's important. And then the other side of it is, and maybe you do some of that, but the other side of it is on race day, picking the strategy that makes sense for the conditions.
Right.
I think because it's the trials, people just throw caution to the wind and it's like, I just got to go with the leaders. I don't care what they're doing. Like, well, they've been heat training. They've been down here for, like Sisson was down there for a month in Florida. So like she's pretty ready for it. And every time I saw her running, she was wearing, a long sleeve. And so if the leader has done that preparation and she's kind of the best anyways, and
Right. Right.
didn't and you're trying to swing for the fences, like it's probably not going to go well. Hey, Freya does not like it. Freya, is that Freya? Is that her name?
Freya and Luna just both freaked out. I don't know why at the same time. They were both sleeping under my chair. I'm like,
Sorry.
dang it.
um,
Okay. So anyway, yes, you were saying I
yeah,
love what you just said about like it has to come into your strategy as well. Like,
you have. I
yeah.
mean, like you're not going to run. You're probably not going to run a PR, but like Jess McClain, like she was like,
Yes.
be prepared, but I know that's too fast for me, and this is the race I can run, and I want to have legs late to run people down. So, like, I just think
Yeah.
we say this to the masses all the time, right? It's like, well, what should we do for the heat? Well, like, change your expectations. Like, you're probably not going to run a PR this New York if it's 73 at the start. Well, same thing for the pros. Like, you're probably not going to run 2 minutes outside of your above your best when it's it's going to be 70 late in the race. So I don't know.
I think it's interesting. In 2016, my coach was like, 230 is making the team. And before we thought 225 was going to make the team, you'd have to run 225. And then with the heat, he's like, 230 is going to make the team, or 229 will make the team. And I was like, there's no way, and he was right. And the people that ran smart and weathered the storm, like 229 made the team. And then I thought it was interesting. You didn't tell me this, but I read it in an interview that you did, that you said you thought 225 would make the team. And so you're trying to run a race to be ready at 225. And again, you were right. 225 made the team. And I think we have like a 218 woman, we have a 219 woman, we have people like, inching down to that 220 mark, and people just assume it's going to be crazy fast. Now, to be fair, 222 is really freaking fast.
Crazy fast.
To be fair, but at the same time, 225 made the team, right? And so the people that, I mean, whatever. It's like I think that McClain is like the perfect example because she just we never saw her.
Right.
We never saw her. And granted, like I will just say real quick, people were telling me they were disappointed that they didn't see Like there wasn't a camera showing everybody going by. And I just have to say that would be super fun. But like NBC is showing who's making the Olympic team.
Yeah,
That's
that's
why
a
it's being
crazy
broadcast. So
story.
we lose some of the other stories of like the woman who's running who's pregnant or the woman who is a teacher. Like we lose some of those stories because this one meet is literally about who makes the Olympic team. So, but my point is like, I didn't see her, right? Because we had a secondary camera, but she wasn't even in that group. And I didn't see her until they were coming, like, I didn't see her until maybe a K to go. And I'm like, who is that? I was like, I didn't recognize the form.
Hey, my
I was
paper.
like, that, yeah, I was like, that looks like an outfit that Kellen Taylor would wear, but I know it's not Kellen Taylor because the form's not right. But she just nailed it as far as just like really knowing what's over my head, what's not, letting it go. And she finished so strong. Sure, she finished in the dreaded fourth position, but I don't think anyone would have picked her for that.
800
So,
meters
you
longer.
know,
If the race is 800 meters longer, does she make the team?
I did go back just because you asked me that. I did watch just the finish line footage of Dakotah, and I don't know.
Yeah.
If it was another mile, maybe. I think Dakotah knew what she was doing.
Rally mode, right?
But Jess was hauling, and at that point, she was the only one hauling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everyone else was surviving to the finish line, and she was like sprinting. And so it's just a lesson, like guys. And you've said this since we started talking about this. I want to say in fucking June, you were like, people have to like your expectation has to be different. The way the race is going to evolve is going to be different. And I think sometimes as runners, we're so used to just like gritting things out. Oh, I'll just make it happen. I'll just push through. I will overcome it mentally. And there's some things that you just like, it's impossible when
Yeah.
your body heat starts to go, like you can't just say, no, I'm going to out tough this. So
Physiologically
I
prepared.
wouldn't, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't seem crazy. Like if you took 2 weeks off and then you're like, I bet you I can run a PR in the marathon, you probably would not succeed. And I don't think that you would be surprised
Right.
by that, right? You're not just going to tough it out.
Right.
Certain things that you
Right.
have to invest in and work on. I will say the other side of it, which I thought was kind of funny too, was watching people just do crazy shit trying to prepare. And you're like, you're going to cook yourself. And I think Sisson kind of talked about this in her last buildup. She was like, I just did too much. And by the time it got there, I was toast. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was the trials and like getting ready for the Olympics. And so I did so much more. It's like, it's still just 26.2 miles. It's still right
Right.
foot, left foot. And, I watched some people do stuff that I think in hindsight, they're going, yeah, I probably didn't need to run in 7 trash bags. Like, no, like it wasn't going to be like 1,000 degrees. It wasn't like
Right. Right. Right.
it was not a marathon on the sun, like you just like, you got to find a way to adapt.
There's a fine line, right?
Oh yeah. So I thought that was
Yeah, yeah. There were people that said to me, "Well, Carol, like, you can't heat train because it's bad for you." And it was like, "Well, no, that's what you're talking about. Like, yeah, if you never let your skin see air for a month and a half and you're always in a sauna suit, like that will be bad for you. But there's a way to do it where you're helping yourself adapt while also being able to train properly." So, I
okay.
don't know. I just thought, yeah.
I'm going to
No,
single
go ahead.
here, and I'm not like a judgment thing, but like someone who really invested a lot, raced really well, but he's always a little on the kooky side, was CJ. Too much?
Yeah. I
Do
don't
you
think so.
just
CJ ran a brilliant race,
yeah.
right? I mean, I don't know, like he ended up 5th, I think. And I think for him, I wish he would have risked a little bit more at 10K to go with 10K to go.
Yeah.
I think if he had gambled on himself a little bit there, we love CJ. Everybody loves CJ. We see him go run 211 back to back. He's like, it's like a piece of cake. But we, and of course we talk about him, but I don't know that people were seriously like, yeah, CJ Albertson is going to be one of those top 3. He's going to run 208. And I'm hoping that he takes this now and then moves forward with a little bit more confidence of like, oh no, I'm not just that guy that's like going to be in the top 10. I am a guy that could be on the podium. I hope he like really flips the script for himself because he's super consistent. I thought he ran a brilliant race. And I saw him the day before, or 2 days before, randomly at a sandwich shop. And he was like, I feel cold. Like, that's how much I've prepared for this. Like, I feel cold right now. He had like all these layers on. I don't know. I don't think it hurt his training. He ran a brilliant race. What do you think?
I think so too. I think he found, first of all, CJ, I think mentally just needs different things. And I think so
Mm-hmm.
much of it for him is like, do I feel like I'm doing everything? And there's a point where I think in training, people are trying to prove that they're fit.
Yes.
And then there's like people who are just getting fit. And I think we talked about this a little bit with the BYU guys. And I think CJ kind of flirts with both. And I think he's doing stuff that's interesting and like he's pushing the envelope on the science side and it's getting him fit, but also like that edge that he might be doing something different or more, like mentally also helps him believe in his fitness. So I think there's just so
Mm-hmm.
many things there that are going for him. And um he's going to put it together. He's going to have that breakthrough that's not like he's going to skip a minute. You know what I mean? Like he's been
Yeah,
floating right around with
I
that
agree.
210 thing for a while and it's just going to when it clicks it's going to be like all right, I skipped a whole minute here. Like let's go at 207 or 2 whatever. I don't know what his PR is, but yeah.
Yeah, I think his PR is 210, but I think that I hope that he comes from this race now and really sees himself as someone who should be on the podium. You know, he's like always a solid top 10 guy. He's going to be in the top 10. He's, you know what I mean? But, and he has been, he's won CIM. I'm just saying at some of the majors, I hope that he really sees himself now as like, you know what? I ran a really great smart marathon in really difficult conditions. I was hauling
Yeah.
at the end, hauling. Like, talk about if they had another 800 meters, he would have been third. And so, like, I hope he bottles that, and I'm sure he's a little disappointed, but I hope that he bottles that of like my dreams aren't crazy. Like, I deserve to be here.
Well, he's the guy who's entered in Boston too. And if we know anything about his recovery, it's quick. And he's got
Yeah, yeah.
9 weeks after this to get ready. So I wouldn't be totally shocked if it happens really soon for him too.
Yeah,
And
it was funny when I saw him. Oh no, go ahead.
I was no, because I was going to change to a different direction. Go ahead.
Okay, it was just funny when I saw him because I said, "Well, what are you going to do after this? Are you just waiting to see how it goes?" And he goes, "Well, no, I'm going to run Boston because even if I make the Olympic team, that's plenty of time to recover." And I was like, "And that's CJ Albertson."
Yeah, so 100%. No, I think with the Boston thing, and obviously I know this from my own personal experience. It's when you're out there and you have that race on the horizon and it's not going your way, or like you're kind of out of objectives or you're in a tough spot mentally. It would be interesting to ask him this if like when he felt like that team, because it's extended so far, like, okay, the team's gone, I'm not going to make it. Did he get a little bit like complacent and go,
Mhm.
I'm just going to save it for Boston? Or maybe I should
Mm.
step off? Because I think that's definitely something that could happen. I think it happens to a lot of people. In 2020, I made a statement about that. I was just like, a lot of these people have track to get ready for, or maybe a spring marathon. And like when it gets hard, it's really easy to step off. And it was not a knock on
Yep.
anyone in particular. It's just a
No.
very practical thing to think. I got a little bit of pushback. And I think in hindsight, it's like, oh no, I get it. This checks out every year. Um, and I stand by that. I think that because I did the same thing. Like I was in the middle of the race and I was like, I'm kind of cooked. I feel like I should just step off. I'm in like 37th place right now. Like I'll go.
Right, right.
But I would love to know if CJ had those thoughts at all, like for any stretch, and did being on that Boston start list ahead of time weigh in or factor at all? And then two, I would give him a huge pat on the back, thumbs up for finishing. Obviously, he regrouped
Yeah.
and like got himself to a really strong finish, so that was probably no question when he started to see people come back and like, yeah, I'm still very much in this thing. But getting through a rough patch like that and then still finishing the race, hats off to him because there were a lot of DNFs.
Yeah. Yeah, there were. And I had a lot of friends who like just follow running say, is that super rare? Like, why would you do that? And I think there's a few things that go on. I think for a lot of people it's top 3 or bust. And when they see that slip away, it is impossible. It's just like, what is my motivation right now? I'm not going to get an appearance fee. I'm not going to run a PR here. Um, and with some of my friends were like, yeah, but you finished in 2016, even though it slipped away. And I was like, yeah, but I just had in my mind, like, I do not want to be here right now, but it's the marathon. You
Yeah.
never know what could happen. And if I wanted to drop out, but I was like, if I drop out and then one of them gets injured, I'm going to have to fucking live with that for the rest of my life. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
So I like forced myself to finish. But so I have a lot more empathy for the dropout. I mean, nobody wants to drop out, but I don't think that it's as easy as like, oh, they just didn't like how they were doing, so they stepped off. I just think it's like your dream slipping away, and it's really hard to be like. I mean, some of the dropouts, the late dropouts are a little bit more confusing for me,
Mhm.
and I would love to ask Betsy Sana, like, she just stepped off at mile 23. I was just like, what just happened, right? And she was in that pack for third, and we saw that at the Atlanta trials as well. Like Sisson and Huddle late in the game. And I think it's just like you're just realizing you don't have the legs, but it seems so risky. It's like you never like look at what happened in the men's race. You just never know. Yeah,
Yeah.
you never know what could happen. Like just keep running. Like I do think when who was I talking to about this? I don't know. It's had to be like probably Adam because no one talks to me about running. But it was like, do you think they regret stepping off? And I'm like, I think they do now. I think they do when they saw Dakotah run her way back into third place. Like they're like, oh man, if I would have just gutted through that part and things started to fall apart up front, then I would have gotten a second wind and been like, oh my God, no, it's still opening up. That the dream is still there. But it's really hard in those moments, I think, to convince yourself it's going to turn around.
Well, I mean, and again, it's like when we talk to the regular runners at a panel, it's like, what do you do when it gets really hard? Well, like, that's the guarantee. And like,
Yes.
why did you sign up for this? Well, on
Hmm.
this day for this race, for this front pack, it's to make an Olympic team. Like,
Right.
there's no other reason for being there. And so the why, once it's removed, like that's what you lean on. And that's what we've been taught to lean on. And that's what gets you through those tough moments. So when it's actually gone, or in your mind, if you feel like it's gone, like, well, why am I doing this?
Right. You really have to have a reason to continue. But I will say, if I was coaching someone who fell back to eighth or even ninth or 10th, I would be like, it is the fucking marathon. You never know. Look at that men's race. It changed multiple times in the last mile, that third place. It went from panning to Quebec. No. Panning to, oh,
Quebec.
yeah, to Quebec to career, right? All in 1 mile. I'm just like,
Right.
you don't know what's going to happen. You have like, you can't give yourself the out. That's a lot easier said than done when you're in that moment and everything's hurting. But it's like you can't let yourself think like, well, I have the 10K coming up, or maybe I could scrap a Great Boston out of this. You just have to be like, no, I'm going all the way. And it's hard.
Here's the other thing. And this was kind of my scenario because I was way out of it. I'm not going to make the team. Whatever. There's a lot of other things that were in play. But the one thing that I always think about is the second you give yourself that out and you say, I'm going to step off for whatever reason, whatever it is so much easier the next time to step off.
Yes.
Like, if
Hmm.
you do it once and the world doesn't end, and it won't, I promise you, goes on. Next time you get in that position where it's hard and you go, well, here's a million reasons, and it's just easier to step off. But once you take that first DNF and you realize it
I
doesn't
agree.
change your whole world, I think it just becomes. It's like you start a habit. Like like you give yourself the opportunity to have that as an out. And if you just never
Right.
like, obviously there's like medical reasons, yada yada.
Right. I was going to say, obviously, if you're like seeing double and you
Right.
can't put one, you know what I mean? Like you get an injury or the heat got to you, like that's not what we're talking about, right? we're talking about like, yeah, I agree with you. That's why I like, you remember that New York, where you ran really well, 2014?
It was super windy.
Super windy. And I have never hit the wall. And I hit the wall and I was like, I don't even know why I'm out here. Like, this is crazy. Like, people were passing me like I was standing still. But I kept telling myself, don't drop out, because once you do, then like you'll be the person that drops out when it's hard. And even though like I should have probably just dropped out, you know, like
Yeah.
everything was going wrong and it was just awful, but I'm glad I finished, right? Like I finished, I missed the Olympic trials A standard by 3 seconds. So I had to pay my way. Sore spot still. But like I'm so glad when I look back of all of my races, I'm actually like really, really proud of that race. It was a terrible result, my slowest marathon I ever ran. But like it would have been so easy to be like, I don't want this time attached to my name. Like, this is crazy. Everything's gone wrong that's gone wrong. You know, I had a sacral stress fracture not that long ago. No one's going to judge me. I'm like really proud that I finished it, because it never was a thing. Like, I don't drop out. I don't drop out. Obviously, again, there's circumstances where you should definitely drop out. But yeah, anyway, it just makes me think of that.
I think you have to take your licks, right? Like, we love the good days. Those are awesome. And we
Mhm.
celebrate them. We talk about it all the time. But if your resume is all good days and then DNFs, like, like take your licks and
Right.
let some people are going to beat you sometimes. And again, it's like, obviously not if it's a health concern, but I don't know. I think that those are the
Right.
days that like you learn a lot too, right? So
Yeah.
I'm anti DNF for the most part, but I also understand bigger picture, spring marathons, fresher legs for the
Yeah.
track,
Oh, yeah.
so many different
I
things.
guess we should make that clear. We understand why DNFs happened here, but we're just saying our athletes aren't going to do
Yeah, that's why I don't coach.
it. I'm just saying Des isn't going to do it. Okay, so let's talk about something that we texted briefly about while you were trying to focus on the Olympic trials.
Yeah.
There's an article written by Amby Burfoot, great American runner, won Boston, has a podcast, super beloved. And he wrote an article a couple days before the trials saying that the trials were stupid. And he thinks it's like an antiquated system and it needs to go, and that we should have a selection process, and that, you know, the selection committee would pick Young, Manson, Rupp, and the selection committee would pick D'Amato, Sisson, and Sena, and that's just how it should be. And I could not disagree more. He said that, you know, it's a random day in a random city. Guess what the Olympics are? They're a random day in a random city. You know what I mean? Like, that's what marathoning is. Everything is about a random day that you've decided to yourself is important.
Yeah.
So anyway, what are your thoughts on it? I think I'm pretty clear. I think like who would consider Fiona O'Keefe to be on that team? It's her debut. We have a 219 woman, a 218 woman, a 221 woman who's shown she can win. Who's going to say, yeah, you know what? I think she's going to be pretty good. We should probably put her on that team. No
Yeah.
one.
I mean, there's a number of problems with it, in my opinion. I think, what you're saying, obviously, about the team itself is super important. Like the selection, we see Kenya do it, we see Ethiopia do it. Japan gets a provisional spot where they can slide someone in if they want to, and we see Kenya and Ethiopia typically run off the podium in the games, like for many of the Olympics. They just pick the wrong people. And so politics
Mm-hmm.
come into it. There's obviously a big part of the problem. But all that aside, like I think the trials are such an important thing for the development of professional running. Like that's a really important goal for a lot of people that keeps them in the sport. And if if you don't have that, like what's the point? Like I don't have a contract, I don't have appearance money. Like you can kind of prove it at the trials and make a name for yourself. We saw that with so many athletes over the weekend, and it's like it's worth like committing to, and it's something that people are super proud of, like getting there. I think it brings a ton of eyeballs to the sport. Like you have however many people and you attach qualifiers and you attach the word Olympics to it, Olympic trials, and their hometown paper is going to write about it. Like bump into someone while you're buying running shoes. I'm training for the Olympic trials. Oh, you're going to the Olympics? Like, well, no, not exactly, but like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's so important for the development side of the sport, and to strip it away would be silly, particularly for a system that's not especially great anyhow. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't, that for sure. And then there's a whole bunch of other rants I could go on. And what's funny is like, I think, Ambi put this together and it's like, well, it's not about fairness. It's about the best team, yada, yada. I think the results kind of prove that that's a miss. And this isn't the first time he's written that type of article. Like, I very distinctly remember this from, it was 2008. Like, let's just put Dina on the team. Um, which Dina was great and she had a really easy time qualifying. So if she was that much better, it's just an exercise for her. And
Mhm.
going in and getting experience and just practicing all the little things during a marathon, if you're that much better, isn't the worst thing anyhow. I just don't know how it
Right.
takes away, like, yeah, I get it if she's sick or something, but we haven't seen that happen. So I don't know. I mean,
No.
on the track maybe, but
I also think, and this is going to sound like really elitist, but being an Olympian is hard. To become an Olympian is hard. And part of becoming one is being able to show up in the face of adversity and to get it done on that day and to handle all that pressure and to handle whatever is thrown at you. Like being an Olympian is something that so many of us dream of, and it's really freaking hard, and it should be hard because that's why we aspire to do it. That's why we look up to it. That's why however many people watch the Olympics and dream of it as a kid. Like part of becoming an Olympian is saying, this is the qualifying process. Okay, I have to be ready on this day. I have to handle these conditions. I have to handle this course. Okay, I'm going to be an Olympian, so I'm going to go and figure that out. And I'll be back here on that day and I'll show you that I'm ready to represent Team USA.
the hardest team to make.
Hardest team to make for a reason.
Right. But that's
But that's why
why it's meaningful. That's what you said. It's why people want to do it.
right.
All
Okay,
right.
well, I think we ranted well. We're on agreement there. Okay, I have this little list, a couple more things on my list. Okay, so I don't know how much you follow anti-doping news, but that's basically what my Twitter feed is. And there's a provisional suspension of Mohamed Katir of Spain yesterday was announced. He won the bronze medal at the World Championships in the 1500 in Eugene, and then he won the silver medal in the 5000 last year in Budapest. And he has whereabouts failure, so it's not a positive test. Um, and I tweeted about it because I tweet every sanction. And a lot of people in Spain are very, very mad at me. He has said that he
What did
go
you
ahead.
tweet? Like, did you do something extra for this guy, or you were just like, "This is news," and then they
I
were,
said big news. I
yeah,
said big news. And then I said his accolades at the last two world championships. And then I just wrote whereabouts failure,
okay. So it's
which
just
is what I do, by the way, for everyone.
to
I
know
say
this
what
is
their highlights are and what they got busted for. And that's what I do.
that.
Um,
But
Okay, so he says that he can prove that this is wrong, that he was home, and you can only have, as you know, we've talked about this. You can only have 3 missed tests in a 12-month period, or it counts as a sanction. It counts as essentially the same consequence as a doping positive. You're held. It's the 1 hour a day window, which is in question here, right? So you guarantee 1 hour where you're going to be. Now, I had people asking me, well, what happens if something comes up? And lo and behold, there's a thing you can do. It's called you pick up your phone, you text. I'm not going to be here. I have to go wherever. Um, so I don't know what his situation is. And I hope for his sake and for his career's sake that he's able to prove that he was home for all 3 of these tests. I find it a little hard to believe that for 3 tests, um, like if you were home, I feel like it would have been worked out already, but we'll just have to follow it. But yeah, I don't know. It just was pretty big in the distance world. And it really made me remember how people don't understand the anti doping system at all.
it's crazy first of all, it's crazy difficult. Like there's so many different entities and, it's alphabet soup and there's all kinds of rules that like you don't really need to know, but if you need to know them, you're probably fucked. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. Um, and I just had to put that in there because we didn't have an E on this episode yet, so I needed a bad word. So we keep our streak
Okay.
alive. But
I think we had a bunch at the beginning, but okay.
okay, well, it felt like a long time. So anyways, you're screwed if you get to that point where they're like, hey, like why didn't you know this rule about like, and then it's just all kinds of it's a lot. But it's really simple in terms of like whereabouts and looking up medications you're taking and things like that, right? That stuff's if you're staying out of trouble, it's pretty easy. But I think it's worth mentioning and noting that missing 3 tests doesn't equal dirty athlete. Like,
True.
I get it. I understand like the logic, but there is like some room where you're like, well, that doesn't mean it doesn't make you a drug cheat. It means you're bad at paperwork and enough so that you've become a question mark. And those
Right.
are different, and I think
Yeah.
I've heard athletes say before, like, you'd have to be an idiot to miss 3 tests in this amount of time, and some athletes are much brighter than others, and it's, like, always the really bright ones that say that. So, like, I get, like, it seems simple, but not every athlete has their shit together, and it doesn't make it an excuse. I think if you have a management team, if you have an agent, like, they should be all over that. If they're taking any money from you at all, like that should be as much of their job
Yeah.
as your job. And even with all of those things in place, like stuff slips through the cracks. But at the end of the day, if it's your job, if this is your job and you know you can't fill out paperwork, um, then you might have to sit out for a bit.
Yeah. Super unfortunate right before the Olympics. I'm sure he'll be trying to rush to have his case heard, so that he is able, or try to rush it and be in front of Cass or whoever it needs to be, or Wada, whoever, because it's an Olympic year and he's medaled at the last 2 world champs, and Olympic medals are worth a lot more than world champs medals.
Yeah,
So,
but that's a big name, and that's a bummer.
yeah.
For
I was
whatever.
shocked when I saw it. I just couldn't believe it because, I hate to say this, but it seems like it's mostly like B-list athletes that we hear get popped. And so when I saw his name, I was like, holy crap, like this is big, 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 big. And um, I don't know. We'll definitely let everyone know how it unfolds because it's big. If he has to sit out of Paris, it'll be a lot of other athletes will be very happy.
That shakes some things for sure. And I guess like another thing to talk about is like, and I don't know the answer to this. I'm assuming they wouldn't retroactively cancel any results, or would they go to like the last missed test, or do they just give a ban? Like, assuming the ban, like he gets a ban, would it just move forward? Or I guess that might work out
I
in.
think it would start at where the third missed test would be, and then I don't know what an offense is for. I mean, what did Coleman get when he had his missed test? Was it a 2-year ban?
I think so.
So I think it would probably end up being a 2-year ban and would probably start at that end of that. It would
Right.
probably start with that third missed test, I think.
Yeah.
But
Again, stuff
yeah.
that you don't even want to know. Like,
Yeah. I
no
would
one.
just like to say, like, you've been traveling the last few days, you drove, you weren't expecting to stop and you did. Just tell everybody, how did you let the anti-doping authorities know that you weren't gonna be at home in your 1-hour window?
So you just update it. I mean, we have an app and you go on there and you put the address in. And I guess this is like where I would say I get how this stuff happens, but also when you have 2 strikes against you, like you better have like a phone call every single day before you go to bed, saying, "Hey, did you update your hours?" So like we stop in Chattanooga and I'm taking the dogs for a walk and I just forget. Um,
Mhm.
then if they come to my house or to Florida, like it gets tricky. And like the other thing is we have a place downstate. We have a place up north. Like, oh, I want to stay one more day because the weather's bad. Oh, there was a flight delay. I'm going to stay at Detroit Airport instead of fly up to Traverse City. Like stuff like that happens all the time. So I get it, but again, it's like you have up to like 1 minute before the window where you can update your whereabouts. So like if you forgot initially and then you're like, oh shoot, like I got to just do this. You hop on your phone, update the new address, and you're good. You get to go.
So if you had an alarm that went off 5 hours before your window every day, or sorry, 5 minutes before your window every day, you would be like, oh shit. Or you'd be like, ugh, I know I'm here. But you could do that. Like if you're, let's say you chose your window from 6 to 7 a.m., you could have an alarm go off every day at 5:55. And if you're not where you said you were going to be, you could quick change it.
Yeah, and you can even have USADA or whoever your agency is. I mean, USADA does this. They'll send you a text every single day at a time. You can set it to one text a week, and it will send you your schedule for the week. So there's like a lot of ways to get
There's a
this to
lot of
happen.
things baked in to help you
Yeah,
be where you're supposed to be. Yeah.
yeah. But
Okay.
I mean,
Thank
like the
you.
flip side, again, I'm not trying to defend it, but like I've just been in this situation where I'm like, yeah, I got it. I'll get to that later. Like I'm in the middle of this
Yeah.
thing,
And
and
you
then it's
forget.
like, oh yeah, I totally forgot, and they're knocking on my door. But it's a lot of like the odds of that happening 3 times in a
Right.
single year, and now like
Well, we'll
you,
see what happens, right? I mean,
yeah,
if he can prove he was there, then he's going to have a lawsuit on his hands because they
yeah.
made him look bad. So,
I mean, and
yeah.
like with the Coleman thing, like how many times has he tested a year? So now his odds are way different than my odds. Like I'm tested like 4 times a year, maybe or whatever, and he's
Mhm.
tested like 24 or 30, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So, he's got to be way more on it, but he's also making more money than me. So,
He's making a lot more money than you. And that's what I always think with some of these like big name athletes, like your agent should be checking that for you
every
every
day.
day. They should
Or
be
yeah,
checking in you're paying them so much money and you're trying to train and you're trying to be the best athlete you can be. And I get all of that. And so if you're not going to be on top of this because you have so many other things going on, but the people around you who are making money off of you, then they should be on top of it
yeah,
because they're making money off of your success. And if you can't run, they're not going to make any money.
yeah, for
Nobody
sure.
makes money. Okay, well, we're gonna grind this down a little bit, but we did have some interaction as you mentioned at the top, the New Balance indoor games. Any thoughts? Do you want me to have my
Um,
thoughts?
you give your thoughts. I thought it was great. I honestly, I think we were driving during it. So, no,
No, it's
we were,
fine.
I just
It,
didn't watch.
it's a short season. World champs are the first weekend in March, so it's short season. For me, my highlight was seeing Ellie St. Pierre run 8:25 in the 3000 and an 11-second PR. Her son Ivan is 11 months old, and my thing is like Jessica Hall actually beat her and ran 7:24 high. Ellie missed Alicia Munson's American record by just 0.2 of a second, and she was mad about it. And I just have to say, everyone should be scared of Ellie St. Pierre because she, like, I'll just say that I ran, sub 70 5 months after having Colt, ran Boston 6 months after, made a world team at 9 months, blah, 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 blah. I didn't feel like myself until I had made the Olympic team and I was training. He was I didn't feel like I could push the way I used to push
Mhm.
until he was probably about 16, 17 months old. And Ivan is only 11 months old and she's only going to get better. So I'm like, everybody should look out because she is going to be dangerous this year. The fact that she opened up in an 11-second PR in the 3000 around 725. Yeah. I mean, I would take that very, 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 very seriously.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
great.
was cool.
Do
And
you
then
think
Hobbs Kessler. Oh, go ahead.
do you think there's a level of injury prone at that point, or is it like once you feel like yourself, you're ready to go? I mean, I'm sure it's different for everyone, but any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like the first year is like the danger zone. And I think we've seen I always want to call her Schneider, but Rachel Smith, she's been real smart too. She had her daughter Nova and she ran great this weekend as well. She's been running great. I think by the time outdoor comes along, she's going to again, I think she's going to be dangerous. She missed the standard for the 5000, but not by much. I think that first year is the sort of I mean, just based on my own experience, that first year is where you got to be careful.
Mhm.
And then things after that, like you just start to feel more and more like yourself. Your body is really is healed up from what happened to it. So they're both like approaching that or just at that point. And so that's just cool to see, like that they were able to take that time. You know, Ellie's first race was Fifth Ave Mile. Um, I can't remember when Rachel's first race was, but they've just sort of taken their time and been really smart about it.
Yeah.
And I like where both of them are at. And it's just it's super cool to see. It's super cool to see them be able to take their time and also show like, oh yeah, no. I may have a baby I'm obsessed with, but like I'm still a killer.
Yeah, for sure. They're like
Yeah.
picking up the cute baby at the finish line, and then they're like
Yeah.
slicing throats on the track. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. And then
Okay,
on
well,
the
I was
men's side, yeah, he won the
gonna,
1500 in 3:33. He beat Jake Whiteman, and he said after he thought that he had the American record in him. So
yeah,
that was kind of cool. He's so young still, right? Like he went pro right out of high school in 2021. So it's cool to see him kind of coming into his own. And yeah,
yeah.
I mean, those were the highlights for me.
He's with such a great crew too. I think he has, Warhurst guys who have gone through college.
Hmm.
They're super experienced with that scene, and then you have kind of Nick Willis, who's been at the top
Yep.
of the sport and can give him so much advice. And so I think he's working with a really great group that will make sure he kind of is on the right course. So
Yeah.
that's fun to see for sure.
Yeah. So this weekend is Millrose. Next weekend is US indoors. All that will happen before we have another episode, but we'll do a quick recap of that next time we meet up. So indoors has started and it'll be over very, very shortly. It's such a small, short season.
Yeah, I just got a
All right. Well, you
visitor.
know what's happening now. Oh, let me see. Is it Rivers?
He's Rivers. Hello.
Rivers. Such a good dog. It's
Yes,
ridiculous.
he managed that party
Okay,
really.
so you know how we have to end here.
Pop, pop.
My pop
Cheers.
top five. Cheers.
All right.
I haven't thought of any of these. So
Okay. I'll start. I'm just gonna go real general and basic. I've been really trying to put one beverage in every single Olipop top five, but it usually ends up being an Olipop. So I feel like that I can't do that. But I'm gonna say for me, I'll go with the first one is being at home. I've been home away from home for a while. Loved Orlando. It was nice to get some sun, but being back here is nice. And I'm going to enjoy it for a few days before I take off to Phoenix. So being at home.
that's a good one. Cheers to that.
Hmm.
Okay. Mm, I guess
Count
I'm
on
just
them.
gonna just say again, Orlando was amazing for me. I got to do my first Brooks appearance. I got to do a Wazelle appearance. I got to hang out with you and be in the booth for NBC. So just another like thank you because that for everyone that supports me or hires me or whatever, because it was just a really special weekend and I was really really happy to be there. So everyone that I worked with was awesome, and just one more cheers to Orlando.
Yeah, into that. Again, really broad. Ooh, Rivers just sat down on a chair. What a good boy.
Hmm.
I was like, he's going to go eat something for sure. I'm going to have to run out of here. I'm just going to say very generally to the racers, to everyone who
Mm.
raced, who has a race coming up. I think it's just like so brave. You work really hard, you dream, and then you put on your shoes and you try to make your dreams happen. And it's cool. It's cool to put yourself out there and kind of be in front of everyone, succeeding or failing or whatever it is, but just being brave enough to do that in front of the world. So to the racers.
That's a great one. Good job. That was like so heartfelt. Shit. Okay. I'm going to say that Colt and I are taking a son mother trip starting tomorrow. He's coming with me to Millrose,
Oh, that's cool.
and he's been to a couple CU indoor track meets, but he's never been to a big indoor track meet before. And he's super excited because he loosely followed world champs last year. So he feels like he knows a few of the runners, and then he watched Fifth Avenue Miles. So he gets to see Nagoose run, and he gets to see Laura Muir run, and he gets to see Josh Kerr, his favorite runner, run. And he gets to see Josette Andrews. Robbie Andrews is one of his club coaches, so he gets to see his wife
Fun.
run. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. And I was driving him to school today and I was like, don't forget to tell your math teacher you're going to miss class tomorrow in that class. And he was like, why? And I was like, well, we're going to Milrose. And he was like, tomorrow? And I was like, is that good or bad? And he's like, no, I'm excited. So I'm excited to have a weekend with him and let him experience the magic of track.
That's great. The future, whether
The
on the track
future.
or in
That's
the
right.
booth. I love it.
That's right.
That's cool. All right, that's tough to top. It's tough to top. Wait a second. I had something good. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to a beverage. Go to a beverage.
Okay.
Coffee. This one's for coffee. In Orlando, we went to a bunch of different shops and picked up just a variety of beans. Some terrible, some fantastic. Stopped in Chattanooga, picked up some more there. Hit a bunch of different coffee shops. And yeah, I just love it. It's a fun way to like visit places and hit all the different shops. We end up with all kinds of beans, and I'm drinking inspired. This is inspired by my mug I got from Japan that has these owls on it.
Oh,
So just
I love that, dude.
the whole thing, the making of it, the ritual, connecting with people over coffee, and great mugs. So I'm gonna give this top five to coffee.
Thank you,
Good
coffee.
luck beating
That
that.
was lovely. That was lovely. Maybe next time you should have flipped the coffee and your love of other people and their joy of racing.
Mm.
You really outdid yourself on that other people racing one. But I do love the coffee one. I
Yeah,
think this might have been one of our best top fives. You were like really feeling it.
yeah. Was that five?
Yeah, it was good.
Really?
Yeah, that's five. You did
I
three,
think I
right?
got more. All right.
You
I
have
would
another one?
no. I mean, I'm sure I do. I'm just finding objects on my desk and talking about them.
Okay, no, we're good. That was good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was our first Back as Sober Friends pod. I think we did great. Hopefully, it's as entertaining as the last one. And thanks everyone for listening.